After seeing the Autarch's top 10 personal experiences with games, I became interested in playing the game that impacted him so greatly, Journey. Once I got some free time, I dropped the $20 and played it, and suffice to say, my experience was much different than his was. It was still positive, for the most part, but very, very different, and honestly, I feel compelled to talk about it. I mean, why else would I make a video? So yes, if you've seen the Autarch's countdown, you probably already know the twist at the end that the companions you meet on the way are actual players. Despite knowing that going in, I really don't think that would have affected my experience too much if I hadn't. The first person I met on my journey was very obviously a human and not an AI. This person was struggling to get a collectible, and their other behavior really did seem like a typical confused player. Though if that weren't another player, well, then that would make the next part of this rant very interesting. Now, I don't say this to brag, honestly, I'm not trying to brag here, but I have played a lot of video games, and as such, I can figure out certain obstacles and puzzles rather quickly, and I can usually predict where hidden collectibles can be found. And it really helps that Journey itself is, for the most part, very good at visually indicating where to go and what to do without being too overt. Because of this, I was able to figure out the obstacles almost as soon as I looked at them. My partner, however, was still struggling. Because I'm not a callous a-hole, or at least I try not to be, I didn't want to leave him behind, so I stayed back and helped him through it, as much as the game could let me. Without the ability to communicate via voice or text, I had to resort to pantomiming and going through the obstacles several times. Eventually, he would get the picture, and we move on to the next one. As the game went on, I sort of became this person's unofficial guide. Even though I didn't know where I was going or had an idea what to expect, I still felt compelled to instill a sense of hope and confidence in the person I was playing with. After seeing this player struggle and the great joy that the Autarch felt when he knew someone was looking out for him, I kinda wanted to instill that in my companion. As we pressed on, I was always in front, leading the person through obstacles that were my first time going through. It's funny, you know? I never really considered myself much of a leader. I'm much more comfortable being a follower and being told what to do instead of telling others what to do. But in a vacuum of authority and direction, I took charge and led my companion through a wasteland and dangers that I didn't know about. When my pal was struggling, I would show them the obstacle multiple times and would wait until they got it. I didn't have to, but I did anyways, because I felt it was the right thing to do. But cut to the latter half of the game, where my first partner quit and was replaced by someone with considerably less innocence. Yeah, I got a troll who intentionally got us both caught by the scarf-eating whales. A moment that I can tell was supposed to be tense and depressing became anger-inducing and frustrating and really broke my immersion. It's not completely the game's fault. I mean, as far as I can tell, there aren't a lot of people who got trolled with this part of the game, and for most of the journey, it's really hard to sabotage your partner. I guess I just got unlucky. Oh well, could have been worse in retrospect. At that moment though, I was kinda peeved. I was really debating whether or not to just ditch my partner and move forward without them. Luckily, the choice was made for me and he left, and I was given another person who, it was safe to say, also didn't know what he was doing. Honestly, I wanted to ditch him too. I was so angry and really didn't feel like helping my fellow man. I was about to go, then I remembered a quote from the Screw Tape Letters of all things. The devil's cause is never more in danger than when a human, no longer desiring, but still intending to do heaven's will, looks round upon a universe from which every trace of him seems to have vanished and asks why he has been forsaken, and still obeys. So, I stayed and helped. The snowy scenery kind of reflected my outlook at the time. Even though I felt stormy feelings of anger and coldness, I still had a job to do, and that was lead my friend through to the end. This game did cause me to do a bit of self-reflection. The more I look at myself, the more I feel like I've lost a bit of my earlier optimism when I first started making videos. At the beginning, I was kinda like that healer in every MMO anime ever made. Meek, everything is wonderful, I just wanna help. You know, all that. Slowly over time, I've turned into what every MMO healer is actually like. Jaded, knights in sour armor. Oh, these kinds of people still help and will die trying, but they usually have a more cynical and critical outlook. I mean, how could I not? There's only so many times you can tolerate babysitting the other players of your team and having to pull them out of perilous situations because they wanted to go Leroy Jenkins, and you end up having to sacrifice yourself, then you get yelled at and verbally abused for dying even though it was their fault, and yet through some Stockholm Syndrome you still continue putting up with their spoiled attitudes and abuse and... See what I mean? I'm really sad that I made this shift, and since then I've been trying to become more optimistic. It's been tough, but I think I'm on the right track. So what does this all mean? Well, I'm going to reinforce the point that Alex made at the end of his video. There are no bad games. Okay, you know what I mean, right? We have to recognize that a game can be very meaningful to different people in different ways. Games like Undertale or Bravely Default, while I recognize how good they are and how much they mean to others, they just don't mean anything to me. But that doesn't mean I don't want to hear about them. By all means, tell me. Tell me about how happy, sad, or angry these games make you feel. Believe it or not, I'm interested. When we share our experiences like this, we can come to a better understanding of each other. While the Autarch says just play, I want to add on to that. Just play and talk about it. I'm the Fiery Joker, and that final level is freaking awesome!
Cut!